Hi, welcome to our 7th class of our acrylics class on Friday morning, and we're doing the second day of our water media batik project. I brought in an example here, and I'll take a photo of it so you can see it more clearly on the thing. But this is one that I did, and I just wanted to show people what I did. Now, the last lesson I did was showing somebody doing waxing and then putting color over it. Essentially, that's what we do for the rest of the process. Put a little wax, put a color on. And each time we put a color on, we go a little darker with the color. So we start off waxing the white areas, then we wax the yellow areas, then we might have, if you have an orange in there, you put that in. And then at the very end, you start getting into the dark blues or even gray, something like that, but you get very dark. And that's when you put several layers of wax on. What I'm going to do is go around and show you students' work, because everybody is kind of in a different place on this. And as you are working on your thing, the individual piece that you are doing has individual things that you have to do with it. So everyone is a little different as they go through this process. What is really important is that you look at what you got, you figure out where you are with it, and you're very careful in putting the wax on and adding the color each and every time. At the very end, after you've put all the layers of color on and all the wax on, you're going to let everything dry, and you're going to iron it, and that you have to go home to do that, to use your iron. And how we iron it is to put a layer of newspaper under the painting, put the painting with the wax paper on the back of it, because it's going to be stuck to the wax paper. Next, then another layer of paper, and then you turn your iron to the highest, hottest setting and iron over it with the paper. As the wax bleeds out, you take that paper off and get fresh paper. Iron again. Take it off, fresh paper, and you get a big pile of paper all around here.
So the newspaper doesn't bleed back into the...
No,
okay.
It doesn't. The wax goes into the newspaper and it stays there.
And the paper, the newsprint doesn't bleed back into the painting then?
No, it does not. Newsprint doesn't bleed in. So that's what you do, and at some point in the waxing process, when you have a nice hot rice paper, you can peel the wax paper off the back of it while it's still hot. So very carefully, because rice paper rips very easily, so you just carefully pull it off, make sure it's nice and hot, and if it isn't hot enough that it's pulling easily, you put another layer of, put some more heat on it to make it hot again. Okay? So, we're going to go around and look at people's stuff today.
Okay, I think my magic markers are still in the corner.
Okay, Holly has waxed some of her white areas that she's going to save, and then she's gone in and painted the green, a light green in here. The next step is to put some wax on this green, and then we'll go over it with a darker green that's going to make the area around the bird actually even darker. But the wax needs to go on all the green areas, and so that's her next step. Okay, Carmen has done her lines with the Sharpie pens, and she hasn't put any wax on it yet. She has a picture of deer in the woods, and there are some very light areas in here. And where she needs to start is waxing in those light areas. And I would suggest also waxing in a line at the top of the deer's body and the top of his ears to kind of give a highlight to the deers. And then also wax the area behind the deers so they will stand out as darker. Okay, Harriet has waxed and painted several areas, and now she has the barn area that is a variety of different colors. And let me show you the picture she's working from. So she's going to pick the lightest color in the barn area and paint that all over the barn area, and then we'll wax off some parts of that and go in with darker color. And we have, on this painting, she has done the yellow in the top, and she's waxed off some of the white area, but now she's trying to blend the orange with the yellow and kind of overlap it a little bit so
Okay.
that, yeah, so it blends in. And add some more water. Put your brush in water.
Oh. Before I,
Yeah, and then just go over it
okay.
and spread it. More water. Don't put any more paint on, just put water, water, water.
Okay.
And you want to let that blend up into the yellow. So overlap the yellow. Yeah. So, yeah, you want it to kind of, yeah, and it's starting to really blend. It's starting to bleed in there. One of the things that happens with these paintings is you get a lot of bleeding.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and that's just one of the effects that is really something that happens with this particular process. Yeah, keep adding water. That's good. That's good. Okay. So the paint has to be very watery at this point in the painting. And so we don't want a lot of really bright color coming out. But it will be bright anyway. It'll be colorful. And there she goes.
So is that good?
That's good. Yep, you're doing good.
So maybe this down here is a little bit darker though, right? Because as it's lighter at the
Yeah,
top.
you could do that.
Okay.
Here's the example that I brought into class. And it is under glass, so you're going to see a little reflection in that. But you can see that the last layers of color on there add a lot of dark into the painting. So that is kind of part of the way that this process looks. This is another example that I just finished, and it is not under glass, although I think there are some reflections still. I want to point out that at this point I have used some acrylic, straight acrylic on this to soften or enhance some of the areas. And that's what we're going to be looking at next week in the artist's paintings as they go into the final stretch of this project.